Malcolm-Jamal Warner, funeral Jaleel White. Tribute is stunning. What Jaleel White just revealed about Malcolm-Jamal Warner will leave you speechless. When news broke of Malcolm's sudden death, fans were heartbroken. But nothing prepared us for the raw, emotional tribute Jaleel delivered. It wasn't just a goodbye. It was a confession packed with pain, guilt, and a secret no one saw coming. Was there more to their bond than we ever knew? What was deleted from the tribute and why? In today's video from Legends of Black Excellence, we uncover the shocking truth behind the tears. Watch until the end and tell us in the comments what you think really happened. Nobody expected this from Jaleel White. When the world woke up to the heartbreaking news about Malcolm-Jamal Warner, fans were devastated. But what Jaleel did next left everyone speechless. A stunning tribute raw with emotion, flooded with pain, and filled with a secret message only true fans could understand. And trust me, this tribute wasn't just a goodbye. It was a confession. Stay with us because what you're about to hear will change how you see both of these legends forever. The world of television lost a giant and the pain hit hard. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, best known for his role as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, wasn't just an actor. He was a symbol of resilience, growth, and brilliance on screen. But when the news of his untimely passing broke reportedly after a tragic drowning incident, fans were stunned. But perhaps no one was more shaken than his longtime friend and fellow 90s TV icon Jaleel White, known to millions as Steve Urkel from Family Matters. Now, in a turn no one saw coming, Jaleel has broken his silence. And not with just a tweet or a standard statement, but with a heart-wrenching tribute so personal, so revealing, and so powerful that fans are still trying to process every word. From tearful video clips to behind-the-scenes memories, cryptic symbolism to outright confessions. His tribute turned heads and left fans wondering, was there something deeper between these two stars that the public never saw? In this video, we're diving deep. We'll explore the full tribute, decode its hidden meanings, revisit the complicated bond between Malcolm and Jal, and uncover shocking moments from their past that were never made public until now. You won't believe what Jaleel admitted at the very end. And there's a part of the tribute that was mysteriously deleted, but we've got the details. So grab a seat, because this is not just another Hollywood tribute. This is where it gets personal. This is where it gets real. When news of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death broke, the entertainment world collectively paused. Tributes began pouring in from co-stars, directors, and fans across the globe. But it was Jaleel White's message, posted quietly in black and white on Instagram, that struck a nerve in a way no one expected. The post wasn't flashy. No filters, no headlines, just a photo. An old, grainy, never-before-seen shot of him and Malcolm backstage at a teen awards show, laughing, arms slung over each other's shoulders, faces full of life and youth. And then came the caption, "You were the only one who knew what it really felt like to smile for cameras while breaking inside, to carry a show and still feel invisible. I never said thank you enough for being my shelter when I needed it. I still hear your voice telling me to hold on. This one hurts more than anyone will ever know." No tags, no mentions, just raw grief. Fans flooded the comments with stunned reactions. Was there more to their story? One person asked. This sounds like trauma bonding. Another chimed in. He's speaking to something deeper, almost like they were each other's lifeline. Jal had never been this vulnerable publicly. Over the years, he'd kept much of his private life, especially his emotional world, guarded. So for him to speak this way about Malcolm, it made fans wonder what were the real battles these two faced behind the curtain of fame. Industry insiders quickly began whispering. A former NBC executive who worked with both actors during the early 90s said anonymously, "People think it was all glitz and glam for those two, but they were fighting demons." Fame was brutal, especially for young black actors back then. The pressure, the racism, the fear of fading away. They leaned on each other more than anyone knew. What made Jaleel's tribute even more heartbreaking was what wasn't said. The silent space between the lines, the pain, the guilt, the possible regrets. Had they drifted apart before Malcolm's death? Were there unresolved conversations? Was this message not just mourning, but a confession? Many fans believe Jal's final line. This one hurts more than anyone will ever know. Held a secret only he and Malcolm shared. Coming up next, we peel back the layers on what may have been one of the biggest unspoken tragedies between them. The silent years. Why they drifted apart and what broke them. Long before social media gave fans a peek into celebrities' daily lives, some relationships in Hollywood thrived quietly out of the spotlight, away from the cameras, and rooted in something real. That's exactly what existed between Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Jaleel White. While the public mostly saw them as two separate stars from two different shows, The Cosby Show and Family Matters, few knew they shared a deeply personal bond that went back decades. Their paths crossed in the late 80s and early 90s during countless television events, award shows, and youth empowerment campaigns. But it was something far more personal that connected them. They both carried the pressure of being black teen icons in an industry that didn't know how to protect them. Both Malcolm and Jal had grown up under the crushing weight of early fame. With millions watching their every move and networks building billion-dollar franchises off their backs, the two found comfort in each other's understanding. Jaleel once told a close source that Malcolm was one of the only people who ever got it. Not just the fame, but the responsibility. Behind the scenes, they were known to lean on each other for support. During moments of tabloid scandal, family loss, or mental health breakdowns, Jaleel and Malcolm weren't just friendly. They were brothers in survival. But what most fans never saw was how their bond was tested during tough career droughts. When Malcolm's music career received little attention, it was Jaleel who encouraged him to keep writing. When Jaleel was mocked relentlessly for being typecast as Steve Urkel, it was Malcolm who reminded him he had value far beyond any character. They didn't broadcast this friendship, they protected it. And maybe that's why this tribute from Jal hit so much harder. It's not just about a co-star passing away. It's about losing a friend who knew his soul. Someone who was with him in the quiet moments in the shadows of Hollywood lights. Behind the bright lights and sitcom success, Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Jaleel White's bond wasn't built on industry glam. It was built on survival, on late-night phone calls, on shared frustrations, on the quiet understanding that they were both young black typecast and emotionally drained. But as the years passed, something changed. Many fans assumed they stayed close throughout adulthood. After all, they both carried iconic 90s roles and faced similar pressures. But insiders reveal the truth. A rift quietly grew between them. Not from scandal, not from jealousy, but from life. One of Malcolm's former assistants opened up anonymously. They didn't have a falling out. There was no big fight. But life moved fast. Jal got into other ventures. Malcolm dove deep into music and directing, and slowly their calls got fewer. Their texts faded, and neither one really knew how to bridge the silence. Some say the silence was mutual. Others whisper that it was rooted in pain. Remember, both men carried the emotional scars of being cast as comic relief while their personal struggles were overlooked. They had pressure from networks, pressure from fans, and pressure to represent black excellence at all times. But privately, they were both struggling to stay afloat. In 2012, when Jaleel went on Dancing with the Stars, insiders say Malcolm didn't reach out. Not even a good luck. And when Malcolm released his jazz album later that year, Jal was quiet too. For two men who once leaned on each other, the silence became deafening. And then came the rumors. A former Hollywood manager revealed Jal felt Malcolm changed. He said something like, "He's too deep now. It's like he left TV behind." And Malcolm, he felt like Jal never got out of character. That he was still stuck trying to prove something. It wasn't hate, it was hurt wounds, misunderstandings, pride, maybe even ego. Whatever it was, it kept them from picking up the phone. And eventually that silence stretched into over a decade until now. With Malcolm's passing, Jaleel's post wasn't just a tribute. It was a cry, a heartbreaking admission that he never got to say goodbye, never got to clear the air. That silence they both held on to for so long, it became the thing he'd regret most, and fans felt that pain deeply. In the comments of Jal's tribute, one follower wrote, "You can tell he's crying through every word. This ain't for the public. This is for Malcolm's spirit." In the glittering world of Hollywood, phone calls often mean business, a pitch, a promo, or a press run. But the last time Jaleel White and Malcolm-Jamal Warner spoke, it wasn't any of that. It was short, it was awkward, and it was final. Sources close to Jal say the last real conversation between the two wasn't filled with warmth or nostalgia. It was a tense check-in buried in surface-level talk. It happened nearly 4 years ago after a mutual friend passed away suddenly. Jal reached out to Malcolm out of respect, not knowing that would be the last time he'd ever hear his voice. Here's what one industry insider shared. "Jal told me it was weird. He expected Malcolm to be more open, but instead it felt cold. Malcolm had changed. He was more reflective, more withdrawn. He sounded tired, not just physically, but spiritually." That moment, that quiet disconnect, stuck with Jaleel for years. Not because they argued, not because they said something hurtful, but because they said nothing real. Just small talk. Just take care of yourself, man. And then silence. Fast forward to the present. Malcolm is gone. A shock drowning incident as confirmed by close family. The world gasped. Hollywood mourned. But Jaleel, he broke. His tribute wasn't curated. It wasn't polished. It was raw. A gut punch in Instagram form, a desperate outpouring of grief, guilt, and unsaid words. Here's what one line from his post read. "I wish I would have called back. I wish I would have told you how much you meant to me. We were kids, man. We were kids trying to hold it together. No emojis, no hashtags, just pain." And that pain resonated across generations of fans, especially those who grew up on Family Matters and The Cosby Show. These weren't just characters. These were our childhoods. And now one was gone and the other was crumbling under the weight of everything left unsaid. A fan commented, "This ain't a celebrity post. This is a man mourning his brother in public. I feel this in my soul." Another added, "Why do we wait till it's too late?" Jal's message should be a wake-up call for all of us. Even Malcolm's own family reportedly reached out to Jal after the post, thanking him for sharing his truth and acknowledging that Malcolm often spoke of Jal with deep affection, even if they were no longer close. It's a haunting reminder of how life can pull people apart quietly until all that remains is silence and a final memory that never gets a second chance. When we look back at the 80s and 90s television era, two names stand out as the faces of Black excellence in family sitcoms. Malcolm-Jamal Warner as Theo Huxtable in The Cosby Show, and Jaleel White as Steve Urkel in Family Matters. They were the young, lovable, nerdy, but charming sons America welcomed into their homes every week. But when the cameras stopped rolling, something more sinister started. Hollywood's quiet rejection. The industry's silent punishment. Despite their global fame, both actors were typecast, struggling to land roles outside their iconic characters. Hollywood had squeezed everything it could from these young Black stars, then left them behind. For Malcolm, it was Theo or nothing. For years, directors would praise his past work, but dismiss him for anything outside the Cosby Boy mold. His deep voice, maturity, and even poetic talent were ignored. He turned to directing music and low-budget indie films, not by choice, but out of necessity. A former colleague revealed, Malcolm had range. He could have been a serious dramatic actor, but Hollywood never gave him a shot. He didn't want to be a pawn anymore. And even more tragic, after The Cosby Show legacy was tainted by Bill Cosby's scandals, Malcolm's reputation took collateral damage. Casting agents didn't want to touch anyone associated with the show, and he became a ghost in an industry he helped build. Jaleel White, you're just Urkel. Jaleel's story wasn't much different. For all the laughs and catchphrases, Urkel became a curse. Every audition, every public appearance, every meeting, he was Urkel. Producers couldn't see him as anything else. And worse, many mocked his efforts to grow out of the role. Even when he starred in serious dramas or independent films, critics treated it like a joke. He was pigeonholed by the very character that made him a household name. Jaleel once confessed in a Raw interview, "They didn't want me unless I had the suspenders on. I couldn't be anyone else in their eyes. I wasn't Yal, I was just a punchline." He tried voice acting writing, even launching his own cannabis brand. And while he found some success, it wasn't the kind of Hollywood respect he'd earned. 2 stars, one industry that failed them. The saddest part. Both men never publicly criticized the industry. They stayed silent, graceful even when they were hurting. But behind closed doors there was anger. Pain conversations with friends and family about what could have been. Insiders say Malcolm felt particularly disillusioned in the last decade. The rise of streaming gave younger actors second chances and reboots. But no one called him. No Cosby Show docuseries, no Theo Huxtable memoir, just silence. And that silence is what broke him. In Jaleel's tribute, he mentioned Malcolm never got the flowers he deserved. He stayed humble while this business forgot about him. And it's true. Hollywood has a long, troubling history of discarding black talent once the spotlight dims, especially those who rose to fame young and dared to age with dignity. Fans are now demanding a tribute. Since the news of Malcolm's death broke, fans have been calling for a proper tribute. Not just a throwback post, but a documentary, a Hall of Fame induction, something to immortalize the life of a man who changed television. One fan tweet went viral. "Y'all gave Corey Matthews a reunion, gave Screech a tribute, but nothing for Theo Huxtable. That's disgusting. Give Malcolm his honor." Even if it's behind every smile Malcolm gave us on screen, there was pain he never showed. And in his final days, that pain became heavier than ever. While many assumed he had quietly moved on from Hollywood, those close to him paint a very different picture, one of declining health isolation and a soul burdened by silence. Years of hidden struggle sources close to the late actor have now come forward sharing that Malcolm had been battling serious health issues for at least the past year. While the exact medical details have not been publicly released, rumors circulated that he suffered from chronic heart issues made worse by stress, insomnia, and years of emotional trauma. A friend who asked to remain anonymous revealed, "He was always tired, always withdrawn. He talked about his heart beating funny. He'd cancel plans last minute. You could tell something was wrong, but he didn't want sympathy." But it wasn't just physical. Those who loved him say Malcolm had been sinking into depression, triggered in part by the lasting backlash from the Cosby Show scandal. Even though he had no part in Bill Cosby's legal issues, the tainted legacy affected everyone attached to the show, and Malcolm bore the weight of that unfairly. He became withdrawn from the industry, stopped attending reunions, avoided fan conventions, and reportedly turned down several interviews. One insider said, he didn't want to talk about Theo anymore. It hurt him that something so beautiful had become so ugly in the public eye, disconnected from the world. By early 2025, people noticed he was cutting people off. Even close friends and family members were reportedly kept at arm's length. His phone went unanswered. He wasn't posting on social media. And the few times he did make a public appearance, he looked frail, hollow, like the world had taken everything from him except his name. Jaleel White confirmed in his tribute, "I hadn't heard from Malcolm in months. He stopped returning calls. I should have pushed harder. I should have gone to see him." That line hit fans hard, and many are now wondering if this was a cry for help no one heard in time. The drowning incident. What really happened? On July 21st, authorities received reports of a man found unresponsive near a private residence's pool in Los Angeles. It wasn't a party. It wasn't a gathering. Malcolm was alone. Emergency responders arrived, and despite their efforts, he was declared dead at the scene. Initial reports labeled it as a tragic drowning accident. But now, fans are asking deeper questions. How did a grown, healthy swimmer drown alone? Was he under medication? Did he suffer a cardiac episode, or was it something more heartbreaking? One source hinted there's no evidence of foul play. But people close to Malcolm are scared to say what they think. Some believe it wasn't just an accident. That chilling statement has reignited online discussions around mental health in black men, especially those in the spotlight. Could Malcolm have been silently crying out for peace? Could this have been an intentional escape? Police have not confirmed any suspicions. The coroner's report is still pending toxicology results. A life lost in silence. If there's one thing clear in the aftermath of his passing, it's that Malcolm-Jamal Warner died feeling unseen. Not by his fans, but by the industry, by the media, and maybe even by those closest to him. The man who once symbolized joy, family, and youth now symbolizes something even deeper: the price of forgotten fame. In the end, Malcolm-Jamal Warner's story is more than a tragedy. It's a mirror held up to an industry that lifts up black talent only to cast them aside in silence. His pain, his isolation, and Jaleel White's haunting tribute expose wounds Hollywood refuses to acknowledge. At Legends of Black Excellence, we don't let these voices fade. Do you believe Malcolm's death was purely accidental, or was it the final cry from a man long forgotten? Let us know in the comments. It's time we stop waiting until it's too late to honor our legends. Speak now before silence becomes the only memory.